Hello friends, under the factor endowment and Heckscher-Ohlin theory, the topic of discussion for today is factor price equalization theory. Let's begin with the introduction. The concept of factor price equalization was given by Paul Samuelson. This theory is also known as Heckscher-Ohlin-Samuelson, that is HOS theory. The factor price equalization theorem is derived from the Heckscher-Ohlin theorem. Heckscher-Ohlin theory uses general equilibrium approach to analyze the comparative cost advantage. According to HO theory, trade arises due to difference in factor prices. Difference in commodity prices is the result of difference in factor endowments. So, basically difference in factor endowments is the root cause of comparative cost differences. This in turn results in international trade. In the absence of transport cost or other restrictions to international trade, the most immediate effect of international trade is that it would equalize relative commodity price in both nations. It means that international trade reduces the pre-trade differences of commodity prices. Difference in commodity prices will reduce as the volume of international trade increases. Therefore, we can say that greater the volume of trade, lower the difference in commodity prices. The relative commodity prices would become equal when the relative factor prices are equalized. It means that when the prices of the output goods are equalized between countries as they move to free trade, then the price of the factors, that is capital and labor, will also be equalized between countries. Let's discuss the HOS theorem. International trade will equalize the relative and absolute price of factors of production across nations. According to this definition, we can say that international trade will equalize price of labor, that is wage rate across nations, and price of capital, that is rate of interest across nations. Here we assume that labor and capital are homogeneous. International trade and commodity will bring about equalization in returns to factors of production. Let's take an example. Two nations A and B and two commodities X and Y. Nation A is capital abundant nation and nation B is labor abundant nation. Commodity X is capital intensive and commodity Y is labor intensive. Therefore, nation A can produce more of X and nation B can produce more of Y. It means that price of commodity X is lower in nation A than in nation B because the relative price of capital or interest rate is lower in nation A in the absence of trade. Similarly, the price of commodity Y is lower in nation B than in nation A because the relative price of labor or wage rate is lower in nation B in the absence of trade. After having trade with nation B, nation A will specialize in commodity X. Nation A increases the production of X and therefore demand for capital will increase, which in turn raises the rate of interest. The relative demand for labor declines, causing the wage rate to fall. After having trade with nation A, nation B will specialize in commodity Y. Nation B increases the production of Y and therefore demand for labor will increase, which in turn raises the wage rate. The relative demand for capital declines, causing the interest rate to fall. In autarky situation, we can see that in nation A, R, that is rate of interest, is lower and W, that is wage rate, is higher. And in case of nation B, R, that is rate of interest, is higher, whereas W, that is wage rate, is lower. International trade causes interest rate to rise in nation A, that is low interest rate nation, in which R was lower in autarky situation. Similarly, international trade will increase the wage rate in nation B, that is low wage rate nation, in which W was lower in absence of international trade. Thus, we can say that international trade reduces the pre-trade difference in the wage rate and the rate of interest between two nations. The international trade will keep increasing until relative commodity prices are completely equalized. It means that relative factor prices have also become equal in the two nations. The theory is based on the following assumptions. There are two countries, two goods and two factors of production. This model is also known as 2 by 2 by 2 model. There is perfect competition in goods market, which means that price is determined by the industry and producers, and consumers cannot affect the market price. There is perfect competition in factor market, which means that neither labor nor capital has the power to affect price or factor rewards. There is full employment in both nations. There is constant return to scale. It exhibits that doubling the input, that is labor and capital, output will increase by twofold. We can say that production function is homogeneous of degree 1. If we double the amount of labor and keep capital constant, output will increase less than the increase in the amount of labor. It shows the diminishing return to labor. Similarly, there is diminishing return to capital also. We can know the abundance of good. One cannot change the abundance of goods. There is free trade between two nations. There are no restrictions like tariff, quotas, etc. The factors of production are completely mobile within the nation, but they cannot move from one nation to another. Therefore, international mobility does not exist. We can say that one labor can move from Mumbai to Ahmedabad, but he or she cannot move from Mumbai to New York. The production function of two goods is different, but they are same in both nations. It means that production function of good X is same in both nations and production function of good Y is same in both nations, but production function of X and Y are different in both nations. Factor affecting demand like taste, preferences and income are constant. The stock of the factors of production in both nations is constant. They are homogeneous. The assumptions are same which we made in HO theorem. Now let us discuss the relative factor price equalization. According to the figure, relative price of factor, that is W by R, is measured on X axis, and relative commodity price, that is Px by Py, is measured on Y axis. We assume the condition of perfect competition. Each W by R ratio is associated with a specific Px by Py ratio. In autarky situation, nation B is at point E and OA amount of relative factor price and OP amount of relative commodity price. Similarly, in autarky situation, nation A is at point G with OC amount of relative factor price and OR amount of relative commodity price. It means that W by R is lower in nation B than in nation A in absence of trade. OP is lower than OR. Therefore, we can say that nation A has comparative advantage in production of X. Therefore, we can say that nation A has comparative advantage in production of X. After having trade with nation B, nation A specializes in production of X because nation A is capital abundant nation and commodity X is capital intensive. It means that specialization will increase the production of X and reduces the production of Y in nation A. Therefore, the demand for capital rises relative to demand for labor and W by R falls in nation A. This causes Px by Py to fall in nation A. After having trade with nation A, nation B specializes in production of Y because nation B is labor abundant nation and commodity Y is labor intensive. It means that specialization will increase the production of Y and reduces the production of X in nation B. Therefore, the demand for labor rises relative demand for capital and W by R rises in nation B. This causes Px by Py to rise in nation B. The process will continue until point F, at which relative commodity price OQ and relative factor price OB in both nations become equal. It shows that nation A moves from G to F and nation B moves from E to F. At point F, relative commodity price and relative factor price both are same in both nations. Relative commodity price is equal in both nations only if relative factor price is equal in both nations. Therefore, we can say that equality in relative factor price in both nations equalizes the relative commodity price in both nations. Let us discuss the general equilibrium approach of relative factor price equalization theorem, which says we use the Edgeworth box diagram to understand the general equilibrium approach of factor price equalization theorem. Consider the following figure. In our example, nation A is capital abundant and nation B is labor abundant. Commodity X is capital intensive and commodity Y is labor intensive. Nation A uses higher amount of capital and smaller amount of labor in the production of both commodities than that of nation B. The productivity of labor is higher and productivity of capital is lower. Therefore, we can say that W is higher than R in nation A than in nation B. The KL ratio used in commodity X is higher in nation A than in nation B. Similarly, the KL ratio used in commodity Y is smaller in nation B than in nation A. With a lower W and higher R in nation B, W by R is lower in nation B than in nation A. Similarly, with a higher R and lower W in nation A, W by R is higher in nation A than in nation B. This has been understood by the slope of the line at point G and E. The line passing through G is flatter than the line passing through E. Nation A is capital abundant nation and commodity X is capital intensive. Therefore, nation A will specialize in commodity X. Similarly, nation B is labor abundant nation and commodity Y is labor intensive commodity. Therefore, nation B will specialize in production of commodity Y. Specialization in production continues until nation A reaches at point F and nation B reaches point F dash. At these 2 points, KL ratio is the same in each commodity in both nations. It has been depicted by the slope of the dashed blue line from OX through point F dash and F for commodity X and slope of the parallel dashed blue lines from OY and OX dash to point F and F dash. As nation A moves from G to F, KL ratio falls in the production of both commodities. The productivity of labor and therefore W falls and R rises in nation A, that is high wage, low rate of interest rate nation due to decrease in KL ratio. As nation B moves from E to F dash, KL ratio rises in production of both commodities. The productivity of labor and therefore W rises and R falls in nation B, that is low wage nation, high rate of interest nation due to increase in KL ratio. Specialization of production continues until KL ratio and W by R have become equal in 2 nations. This happens when nation A produces at F and nation B produces at F dash. Let's discuss absolute factor price equalization. To understand the concept of absolute factor price equalization, we need to understand the Euler's theorem. According to Euler's theorem, if each factor is rewarded equal to its marginal product, the total product should be exhausted. It means that there is neither surplus nor deficit. Here we assume the constant returns to scale in production. In other words, the total production will be just exhausted if all factors are paid rewards equal to their marginal products. This problem is also known as product exhaustion problem, that is PES. In mathematical form, Euler's theorem can be written as TPY is equal to MPL into L plus MPK into K, where TPY is total production of Y, MPL is marginal product of labor, L is amount of labor, MPK is marginal product of capital and K is amount of capital. This equation shows that the total output of Y is the summation of marginal product of labor MPL times amount of labor used in production of X and marginal product of capital, that is MPK, times amount of capital used in production of Y. Dividing equation 1 by L, TPY by L is equal to MPK into K by L plus MPL. Therefore, TPY by K is equal to MPL, that is multiplied by MPK by MPL into K by L plus 1. Now, after having trade with each other, nation A produces at point F and nation B produces at point F dash. W by R is same in both nations and MPK by MPL is also same in both nations. At F and F dash, scale ratio in the production of commodity Y is also same in both nations. TPY by K is the average product of capital in the production of commodity Y. The average product is same in both nations because of the assumption of CRS and same production function. If equation 3 is true, MPL in both nations must be equal. It means that MPL, that is W, is same in production of commodity Y in both nations. Similarly, we can prove for commodity X. Therefore, we can say that real wages, that is W by R, in production of commodity X are equal to real wages, that is W by R, in production of commodity Y in both nations. Let's summarize. The factor price equalization theorem is derived from the Heckscher-Ohlin theorem. Heckscher-Ohlin theory uses general equilibrium approach to analyze the comparative cost advantage. According to the HO theory, trade arises due to difference in factor prices. Difference in commodity prices is the result of difference in factor endowments. According to this definition of HOS theorem, international trade will equalize price of labor, that is wage rate, across nation and price of capital, that is rate of interest across nations. Thank you.